Welcome, Ankit Mathur, CEO and founder of Greenway Grameen. Welcome to Sustainability Next Dialogue series. So we do this with leaders and founders and academic leaders regularly to keep the conversation going on important topics. So thanks for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you, Benedict. Thank you for having me here and looking forward to this interaction. Um,
Yeah, cool. So straight away, yeah, it's been 24 years for you now in the clean cooking movement. And take me through how satisfied or how fulfilling you feel as of now.
um, to be honest, it's 14 years, but yeah, I'm quite
14,
satisfied.
14, 14,
Yeah, yeah,
2010. Yeah.
correct, correct. So, so yeah, it's been quite an exciting journey. Started I started up right out of my college with
Mhm.
a couple of friends, and one thing led to another, and eventually we had this idea of making products for rural households, designing them particularly for the needs that address um, underserved segment in a way for
Mm.
which product design doesn't really happen. And one of the first problems that we decided to sort of take head on was that of lack of access to cleaner cooking.
Yeah.
Um, I'm glad that this has, sort of received the attention that it has in the last 10 years or so. But even before that, there were a lot of initiatives. However, there was definitely a lack of a well-designed product that
Mm.
was particularly designed with users in mind. So we were one of the first ones to make the product, design it in a user-centric way, and yeah, we have had the good fortune of having a lot of them use it year on year.
Mm. So, is there still a large gap between those who use clean cooking and those who use unclean cooking? Is there still a large gap?
Well, yes and no. Yes, because there's still a large segment of consumers that end up using a mud cook stove or an open fire as one of the means for cooking. Typically, just like we have in our urban households, there's a whole stack of consumer durables that we use for cooking. So we may
Mm.
have, um, a gas hob, an OTG, a microwave, a toaster, grill, even some people even have air fryers, right? However, in a rural kitchen, unfortunately, it's just the mud stove. And off late, with some push, there's been LPG connections that have been distributed. However, the incomes in rural areas are rather clunky in nature, and due to affordability issues, due to accessibility issues, at times people are not able to afford LPG for their regular cooking. So
So,
based on
what is the percentage of
yeah, I was
households using LPG and those who are using smart? I mean, your cooking stoves.
well, we are a very small fraction of the overall cleaner cooking mix. We've
Mhm.
sold about 30 lakh cook stoves over the last 14 years.
Mhm.
Uh, in terms of the Ujjwala connections,
Mm.
you have over 10 crore Ujjwala connections. So if you compare us to Ujjwala,
Yeah, yeah.
we're still a small fraction.
Okay, okay.
However, as per the NFHS, which came out with its data a couple of months back, there's still between 40 and 45% rural households that use um, firewood as the primary source of cooking.
Mm,
So
mm.
it's still a large number.
Yeah, that's the question I asked was what's the gap between uh, those who use clean cooking and still use firewood? So you answered that. So 45, that's still very large.
Yeah.
Uh, that's still very large. And I don't think even the LPG has made much inroads. Maybe 10% or 15% of the rural and poor households. Yeah, I think there's still a long way to go on that front. So tell me about the Clean Cooking Alliance. So what is it? What is it like?
So Clean Cooking Alliance is a global body
Mhm.
that addresses, or at least gets people as a convening body, as a fundraising body
Mhm.
for for addressing the challenge of lack of access to cleaner cooking. It
Mhm.
started off as Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves, because earlier the focus was on uh, wood burning or charcoal burning cook stoves, and then they've kind of expanded into Cleaner Cooking Alliance, Clean Cooking Alliance, and at this point, their focus is more on sub-Saharan Africa.
Mhm.
In the last 4 or 5 years, we haven't really seen active projects being rolled out in India,
Mhm.
but they do have a large presence in Africa. They are a good convening body. They were able to get an ISO standard
Mhm.
testing out there, which kind of helped a lot of us manufacturers to standardize the testing. It was, they do work on the policy piece with a number of governments trying to get tax rebates for cleaner cooking devices, etc. So they are Washington D.C. headquartered, Africa focused, and a lot of their funders are
Mhm.
in Europe.
Yeah.
So
So,
in
yeah. So if we are solving the cooking stove problem, what about what goes into the cooking stove? Are you solving that as well? How big is that problem?
Right. So our product still uses firewood, unprocessed firewood,
Uh-huh.
cooking. The difference is that Greenway stoves are a lot more efficient. They cut down on the amount of firewood that is used for cooking.
Mhm.
And given the design of the product,
Mhm.
they cut down the amount of particulate matter emissions, and carbon monoxide is eliminated from the
Mhm.
overall output mix.
Mhm.
Uh, so on a one-to-one comparison, we're still using firewood, but we're burning it a lot cleanly.
Mhm.
That's the innovation that we have here.
Mhm. So, isn't there an opportunity there to uh, get into the like, for example, the peat uh, from agriculture waste, and there's so much of waste that is burnt. Uh, isn't there a big opportunity to get that, make that into a kind of a peat and then supply it to? So, is there someone doing that, or it's not addressed enough?
It's an interesting opportunity. A lot of people have tried in the past,
Hmm.
trying to aggregate
Hmm.
crop waste, and
Hmm.
then either briquetting it or pelleting it, and
Pelleting it, yeah.
putting these pellets
Hmm.
in what are known as gasifier stoves, because
Yeah, yeah.
pellets are denser, so you need a jet of air to
Hmm.
sort of gasify it and then burn it cleanly.
Hmm.
Um, so there was a time when British Petroleum had put in a lot of its CSR money or sustainability money, but
Hmm.
that was pre 2010.
Hmm.
Uh, Eventually, that venture got sold off to, it kind of went through a management buyout, and then they got sold off to Thermax. But I don't see a lot of those initiatives today, because I think the kind of customers that this venture would address are now able to get a lot of bottled LPG much easier. So if you are selling this to, let's say, restaurants that would pay for the pellets, the restaurants are happy paying for gas as well. Of
So we
course,
are solving the problem of the underserved and the poor here. So,
yeah, I mean that has been a more tricky thing to address, because to sort of have a very clear demand estimation from the households, and then having supply depots that would refill these households at the right time, that
mm,
has proved expensive. So more than the cost of the pellets, it's the cost of the transport and servicing the households that
mm.
that has kept such initiatives sort of on the back foot, if I may
I
say.
guess that's where the innovation is needed. I think uh,
Absolutely,
supply
absolutely.
supply chain innovation and all that innovation is needed. And is anyone doing it, or nobody's doing it, or is it up for grabs?
I think it's up for grabs. Even if people are doing it, there's still a lot of crop waste out there. There's still a lot of people who might be ready to pay for pellets and who would be benefited from gasifier stoves, which are a lot cleaner. The good news is that there's a lot more electricity access. So running these gasifiers, mini gasifiers at home is going to be a lot more reliable today than it was 10 years ago. So this opportunity definitely exists. It's just that it's more on the FMCG side in terms of the supply chain versus the consumer durable side, like what we do in a sense.
Like,
So
for example, we buy uh, what do you call charcoal for our barbecues.
right,
It's
yeah,
similar to that, isn't it?
it is, but the replenishment rate is a lot higher when you're talking about
Yeah,
you
I
know
think if somebody is solving this, it has to be at scale, and
absolutely,
it's going to solve two problems. It's going to also give the farmers who are burning the crops some revenue, and
yeah.
also serving this. So, and also you protecting the forest from being cut for firewood. So, in fact, it's solving three problems. So,
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
directly, I'm urging you to take it up.
Thank you, Benedict. I think this is something that we should do, given what we've been doing.
Yeah, it's like a backward integration or something, as they call it. Or
Absolutely, it is.
so,
Yeah,
okay, so let me know if you're taking it up, and we were quite happy.
sure. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also see that we have a common friend in Professor Anil Gupta in IMA.
Yes, yes.
And do you work with him much?
Um, no, of late I haven't really worked with him. I knew of him and I was a student when I was at IMA. But through the Greenway journey, I haven't really worked with the honeybee network. Yeah.
Okay. So he is looking out for some support for his honeybee network. What do you call compiling and the grassroots innovations and things like that, Srishti and that. So, in case you feel like supporting him, it will be great. We met recently, and he said, "Yeah, nobody is coming forward to support him." So I
Okay.
think, so
Okay.
yeah. So I just leave that thought with you. Yeah. So yeah. So let's close the cook stove topic with the what is the future in terms of technology and uh, where is it going, say 3 to 5 years from now? You think it's the LPG that will catch up, or it's some other cooking solution? Let's talk about the cooking solution for the rural area.
So I think it's going to be a stack of cleaner cooking solutions. There's going to be cleaner cook stoves. There is space for them. There will definitely be LPG. There's a big push from the government, and the supply chain is already there. And there's a big oil lobby of course, selling LPG. There is everyone tends to forget what the emissions are as you
Yeah,
use it and as you burn it. But yeah, at least at the point of use, it's healthier.
yeah.
Uh, and then you have electricity-based cooking.
Hmm.
I believe that in the next 5 to 7 years, the cost of cooking on electricity is going to be lesser than the cost of cooking on LPG, even if you take a battery backup.
Yeah.
So I think eventually the cost of batteries, the cost of an induction stove, a double induction stove,
Hmm.
and solar panels is going to be lesser than LPG, over 2 or 3 years.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that's one direction where things will head. So we
So
are
basically,
actively
you're assuming that the cost of electricity from the renewable sources is going to be much cheaper. That's what you're assuming.
so so in the latest bid that happened for a 9 hour backed uh, solar
Hmm.
with battery backup, uh, SECI got a bid for 2.7 rupees
Hmm.
levelized.
Hmm.
Now, uh, now I assume that that's a very aggressive bid. Somebody wanted the tender,
Yeah.
but even if you do the math right, at about 3.5 rupees per unit, you would get 16 hours of backup
Mm,
and solar panels.
mm,
Uh, and that means that if you want a 2.5 kilowatt induction running for 3 hours,
mm,
right? That cost will probably be lesser than getting your LPG refill. Um,
mm, mm,
that's the math I'm running. Uh, but it cannot be the electricity from the grid,
mm,
uh,
mm.
because electricity from the grid uh,
There's
comes with,
transmission cost as well.
yeah, there's TMD losses, there's a lot of wheeling charges and whatnot. I mean, so one will have to look at decentralized renewable energy for making this possible.
For this
Not,
solar rooftop that we are talking about, the Prime Minister's initiative. So
yes.
can that be used for cooking as well? Is it strong
Yeah,
in?
the beauty of having electricity is that it's a very clean source of energy, right? The conversion rates from electricity to any usable thing. You look at motors, you're looking at 99.9% conversion. You look at induction stoves, you're looking at 95% conversion. So from that perspective, if you have solar rooftops or if you have electricity, you should be able to use a good device. Uh,
Hmm.
Fortunately or unfortunately, we've just not explored, cooking on electricity as much.
Hmm.
Uh, as I said earlier, urban households have a lot of implements that run on electricity in the
Yeah.
cooking stack itself, and this trend will move rural. But then again, you have to address the issue of the households having a proper platform, them having the right kind of vessels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the allied costs when you try to push a particular technology are much higher. So,
Hmm.
so I would not, bet all my money on everyone going electric, but I do believe that there will be a move in that direction.
Yeah. Having said that, I think there's still a huge, at least 25% of the rural and very poor population that will still need uh, cheaper solutions like yours.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not running away from my business anytime soon.
Yeah.
We believe that this product will sell for the next 25 years,
Yeah.
and that we have the responsibility to have a distribution network, financing mechanisms, et cetera, to ensure that more and more people can buy this at as little cost as possible. Yeah, I mean that's
They
the
can
idea.
get smarter over a period of time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great. Yeah. So the next interesting thing that what I read from what uh, Ketaki share is that you're structuring carbon projects for voluntary carbon markets. So tell me a bit about that.
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the challenges of selling a product like this is making it affordable, either
Hmm.
in the form of getting financing for the end customer or trying to get upfront subsidy on the product.
Hmm.
So so the structuring carbon projects falls in the latter part where we are trying to get um, we're trying to get upfront capital for the product such that it can be subsidized to the end customer, and this subsidy can be paid back in the form of carbon offsets. Um,
Hmm.
it's a it's an interesting structure. Uh, the but there are certainly challenges. One of the challenges is that there's a lot of variation in terms of the estimation of the number of carbon offsets that you produce. So you have to be very careful in terms of what methodology you use, what registry you're using, and have very good MRV systems in place such that you have a lot of data to substantiate that
Hmm.
your stores are being used. Uh, Even before that, there's the issue of having the right kind of customers and the right technology in place. So I believe that the first part, because we were addressing it for almost 10 plus years by the time we started looking at the carbon markets, that we understand well. It's the latter part which is getting off takers, banks, and potential other intermediaries to get the cash flow rolling such that we can actually get the product to the end customers at a lower price, at a much lower price than what we would like to sell it at. So that's what the carbon offsetting project structuring is about. But I would love to, sort of drill down deeper on any strand that you pull because it's a rather large topic. In
Yeah,
total.
yeah, it seems complex to me. Um, so will the user, the cooking stove user benefit in some way with this?
Yes. So currently, the project that we are running in Madhya Pradesh and Orissa, we are able to sell the product for 500 rupees to the end consumer.
Hmm.
And we are trying to get all the remaining money. So typically, we would sell it at 2,500 or 3,000 rupees to the end customer, either through financing or getting the customer to directly pay. But the demand really balloons when you're able to sell it at 500.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's the part that we are trying to do with the carbon offsets. We are able to sell it at 500. We are able to maintain a full-fledged team that is able to maintain the products. There's not a lot of maintenance, but there's still handles breaking, and sometimes people lose their fuel tray, etc. So we are able to do a lot of that servicing for a longer period of time, and make sure that people are using the product. So that's the benefit to the end customer, in a way.
Yeah, so in a larger sustainability greenhouse sense, that this would still be perpetuating uh, use of wood.
That's absolutely correct. The difference is that you use a lot less firewood than what you were using otherwise. Now, a typical Greenway stove ends up cutting the use of firewood by up to 65%. So a typical household ends up using, anywhere between 4 to 10 kilos of wood a day. So let's take somebody who's using 10 kilos or even more. So at 10 kilos, that number reduces to about 3.5. And I mean, the idea is that most of these households are not chopping trees for burning. They're just picking whatever they have in their vicinity, and bringing those headloads and cooking. And this burden of bringing in the headload still falls mostly on women and the girl children of the households. While we can get these households to use LPG, and the government is trying that, I do believe that they don't have the regular incomes to be able to afford LPG on a regular basis.
So this cake, which many households use, this
Yeah, cow dung cake. Yeah, upla.
yeah, the cow dung made from cow dung.
Yeah.
So are they still, can they be used in your smart food stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They can be used in the stove. They will also need to use a lot less cow dung cakes. The challenge that we've seen in the last 10, 15 years is that the overall population of distributed cattle heads has decreased. So there are a lot less households in villages that have 2 or 3 cattle heads anymore, because there's still a lot of maintenance of the cattle, and then you have tractors and labor for doing the field work, which sort of is easier to pull off in terms of capacity. So these distributed cattle heads being coming down has meant that you have lesser biogas plants, you have lesser cow dung cakes being used, etc., etc.
So what's the next big idea that you have, that you're working on in the for solving the cooking problem?
Oh, so for the cooking problem, I mean, to be honest, we would like to move a lot more Greenway stoves.
Mm,
So we're trying to, and we believe that, the carbon markets have been in a bit of a lull for a while, and there's been a lot of bad actors.
mm,
So the carbon markets will not give us a solution anytime soon. So
mm,
we have to sort of fall back on the good old distribution methods, doing the demos,
mm,
financing the customers, and selling the products.
mm,
So on the cooking side, it's going to be sort of rehashing the distribution
mm,
and working on, let's say, electric cooking, trying to see if we can add a fan in our stove and cut down the emissions and consumption further. We've been able to do that in a large commercial stove that we make, where one can cook for 150 people at once.
mm,
And the results are very good. There's a lot less blackening of the vessel. The
mm,
wood burns a lot cleanly. So we'll see if we can do some of that on the household stove as well. And then, of course, work on see what is the feasibility of induction stoves in rural areas.
mm,
Because as you'll have more electricity coming, you would move towards electric cooking one way or the other.
mm,
So these are the two things that we're trying to do on the cooking side,
mm.
but we are also trying to look for other problems to solve,
Right.
uh, and trying to innovate on products there.
Like what problems?
So back in the day, I my team had built a free to air dish and a set top box.
Mm,
We sold it for some time, but
mm,
we ran into some regulatory issues, so we kind of cut back on that. We believe that information and entertainment should be free, and
mm,
and there are avenues to get them free. It's just that households are not able to get them, so they're spending a lot of money on data packs and
mm, mm,
Tata Sky and Videocon and whatnot.
yeah,
So there's already a DD free dish, a free service which
yeah.
runs channels on the ISRO satellites. You can easily cache them, but a
Mm,
lot of people don't. So that was one. Off late, we've been working on the problem of household water filtration.
mm,
We believe that there need to be better there needs to be better technology at the household level.
mm,
Uh, you cannot rely on RO filters. You don't need RO filters most of the times, and especially if the government is going to push a lot of so-called treated water through the
mm,
pipeline.
mm,
Uh, that water should not have a lot of TDS. So
yeah.
there's no need for RO. So we're trying to look at other filtration technologies, other treatment technologies, such that there's no recurring cost. One of the challenges with a lot of products that get sold in rural areas is that you
Mm,
sell it at X and then you spend
mm,
X plus on just servicing it, which is meaningless. I mean,
mm,
we've built a business around making a product that does not need service.
yeah.
So I want to make a filter which will not need service.
Mm,
So if we can pull that off, I believe that's going to be a large market to address. And based on whatever consultations that we did across villages, we've come to realize that people are ready to pay a lot more for filters than for cook stoves.
mm,
So that's something that the team is working on.
mm.
Hopefully, we should have something to show you in about 6 months.
Oh, that's nice. All the best for that.
Thank you.
The last mile solutions for uh, low income households, there are many. I think water is one, cooking is another. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, few things like that. I think that's still a good market size. I think the challenge is your margins that will make it worthwhile business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's 14 years now your business, and you have a co-founder in Neha Juneja. So for
Right.
startup entrepreneurs who will be watching this conversation, what is it that you would like to share at how co-founders work together in making a dream come true and making it successful?
Yeah, that that question could be answered better over beers. but I'll try to answer it, over this call as well. I think one of the first things is that there has to be a basic agreement on the kind of vision and the basic ethics that founders come together with. I believe that my co-founder and I, we share this share basic honesty that we would not try to trick the customer. We would not want to sort of chase profits all the time, in spite of the fact that we may have investors and we may have to manage them. And I believe having a long-term view on what the customer needs and what the customer would pay for always helps. And if all co-founders are aligned on that, it makes for a good long-term partnership. Uh, of course, there are there are there are finer things related to what the work division is, and the fact that you should not be stepping on each other's toes, trying to one up each other, etc. But then all of that would be addressed if the vision alignment, if the basic ethics match. And I believe I've been lucky to have Neha as a co-founder, and we have had other employees and other co-founders that we've worked with in the last more than a decade, where we've been able to align incentives, where we've been able to tell people that, listen, we cannot chase growth at all costs. And that has been meaningful. I mean, just being sort of patient about capital, patient about growth, patient about the size and scale that is meaningful in terms of the impact. So yeah, those are some of the things that have really helped.
And thing about communication between co-founders is very important.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I think it helped because we lived pretty much in the same neighborhood. We worked out of the same office. I think it's becoming more and more difficult when you work in remote teams, and at times you kind of miss out on the context between one person and another. And we made the business, grew the business in the pre-pandemic times when this was not so much of a trend. And we were always very particular about coming to office, getting things done at a central place, being open to meet people in their places of work, places of living, and having those shared experiences and talking about them has really helped. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's still considered as a low tech game. What you're into, is it anytime soon will become kind of a little more tech savvy and bring in technologies which will make everything much more efficient, effective, whatever?
I think there's a lot of tech that goes into making the stove. I would love to have you at the factory and see how much we have to work on the precision of the tools and special purpose machines that we have just to make something which seems really low tech. And I had heard Jeffrey Archer say this, that every time you write something and the reader feels, oh, I could have written that. That means you put in effort into it, and that's what we love about our product. Every time somebody says, oh, it's a low tech product, it can be made for so and so. I'm like, yeah, give it a try. You'll spend the next 10 years trying to make it at the same cost.
500 people strong, is it?
Yeah, we are about 450 at the moment. Yes.
Okay, last question. How did your experience at IMA really help you become an entrepreneur and a businessman that you are today?
I would say that I studied at IMA with a fairly good cohort of people, and at a time when the fees was low, which allowed me to take the risk of not taking up a job at all, and that really helped. I think IMA has been pretty open in terms of us being able to go back. Uh, they now have a fairly extensive thing called CIIE, which they've renamed as IMA Ventures, which has been supporting people. But even before that, I think the 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 ethics of being punctual, being thorough with whatever you're trying to understand and address and communicate, and being honest, at least to yourself, are some of the things that I was able to absorb from my time at IMA, and that has stayed with me. The brand obviously opened some doors in the early days. Um, and yeah, it did help, but honestly, I think it was the combination of good professors and low fees that have put me and my co-founder who comes from FMS, where it was even lower to start up. So
We're
yeah,
from FNS. What's FNS?
FMS, the Delhi University thing, the
Okay.
Faculty of Management Studies.
Got it.
Yeah.
So just the last one. So we see that a combination of engineers who do MBA in a good university or a good college have a greater chance of succeeding as entrepreneurs and have bigger visions and things like that. What is the secret behind that, or you think it is just a surmise?
I think it's the way, it's the way the society has been pushing a lot of young kids to just study engineering, that has led to a lot of us study engineering, and then and then sort of get into these B schools that are highly rated because you've gone through the whole system of competitions. I think as liberal arts sort of colleges and faculties develop, as the opportunities open up, there will be a much bigger space for non-engineers to be as successful. There's already a plethora of non-B school men and women who've made it really big, and nobody asks them which B school did you go to. And I think that shift will also happen towards non-engineers. It's just a matter of time.
Great. Thank you so much, Ankit, for this very interesting chat. All the best for all your new ideas, new ventures.
Thank you, Benedict. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Cheers.